Well, I finally got another McIntosh amplifier in-house, and I took full advantage of having it on hand. I used it almost every single day. For every use case, for every speaker, it effectively replaced the EVO 150 as my daily driver amplifier. And this is my experience with it. And as always, if you wouldn't mind just liking this video and subscribing to the channel, it'll help me out a ton and help me get more products like this McIntosh amplifier in for review. This is the baby integrated amplifier from McIntosh's lineup. It's the smallest one that they offer, but it's no small integrated amplifier. It's a full width component, 17.5 inches wide, 6 inches high, 18 3/4 inches deep. So you need a sufficient amount of space to house it or show it off, and please don't just shove this into a cabinet. It deserves to be on full display. It weighs 38 pounds, 55.5 pounds boxed. It comes in a really big box, double boxed, and it comes bolted to a piece of wood to keep everything secure. And before anyone chimes in, yes, this is a McIntosh product, and yes, it's priced accordingly. It retails for $6,000 US, which is no small sum, but if you're looking at a McIntosh product or any one of the products in their lineup, I hazard to think that you're not pinching pennies. They use expensive materials, the amp exudes quality, they touch on all the small details, it looks and feels like a luxury product. It also has a host of inputs, 6 analog, 4 balance, 1 balance, and a moving magnet phono input, 6 digital inputs, 2 coaxial, 2 optical, 1 USB, and a proprietary MCT for use with their SACDs and CD transports. And because they really wanted me to fall in love with this product and potentially buy one in the future, they included tone controls. They also have monogrammed heat sinks, and it's something I didn't notice at first. It wasn't until I started pouring through the specs and read it, I was like, what? What is that? And it's on the top back of this product. It's a little M and a C built right into the heat sinks. It looks really cool. And you know what I really like about McIntosh? I don't have to stumble through the specs because they print them right on the product. And here those are right now. The DAC is an 8-channel 32-bit 384 kHz for PCM DSD, it's quad balanced, and the other digital specs are these right on screen. And rounding out the MA5300 is the usual power guard, Sentry monitor, and home theater pass-through, which is home theater bypass, which is not quite as simple as home theater pass-through, something I'll get to later on. This is a classic looking McIntosh amplifier. It's about as McIntosh as it gets. The front panel is black glass with aluminum end caps. You get the dimmable blue watt meters, you get the green logo, the weighty knobs, the left one's for input, the right one's for volume. You get the red standby switch and the high drive headphone amplifier output. Around the back, it's standard issue, gold-plated speaker binding posts and that full-on industrial look. The remote, it's nice, it feels like quality, it's fairly easy to use. There's a lot going on it, there's a lot of buttons, and I generally have qualms with all remotes, but I presume that this remote was designed to work with other matching McIntosh components, and therefore I also assume that most people that might buy this integrated might buy another matching McIntosh component. But for me, I pretty much just used it for volume control and to change inputs. Now, I was to review this alongside the Sonos Faber Lumina 2 Amateurs, which seems like a bit overkill for those speakers. I got those speakers first before I picked up this amplifier, but once I did, I got it into place, set it up with the Lumina 2s, and give it my second sort of run through. The other gear I used were the Q Acoustics 3090 Ci center channel, the Marantz Cinema 60, where I pre-added the front, left, and right into the McIntosh, the CXN V2 streamer connected via XLRs, and the Alva TT V2 turntable connected via Bluetooth. This is pretty close to my usual setup, pre-adding from the Marantz into the EVO 150, setting that input into home theater bypass, and I'm off to the races. With the McIntosh, it took a little more finagling. What you have to do is, again, take left and right pre-out from the Marantz into the McIntosh, set that mode to fixed or pass-through, and then you need a separate trigger cable connected to your Marantz into the pass-through connection on the McIntosh, and you have to use a stereo cable. With a mono cable, pass-through doesn't engage and you get no sound. Not using a cable, you have to adjust everything manually, kind of a pain in the butt. And with a stereo cable, it worked sometimes, but I think It only worked sometimes because I had to use an adapter because my stereo cable wasn't long enough. Maybe that's why it didn't work all the time, but to be honest, I just left mine without cable and adjusted manually. The other thing is connecting a subwoofer kind of sucks. It's not the easiest thing to do. There's no dedicated subwoofer output. What you have to do is you have to pull out both jumper cables, and then you have to connect Y RCA cables, and then connect those to your subwoofer, and that's how you use a subwoofer. I wish there was a more elegant solution here. The newly released MA5300, which has kind of stolen my heart after I saw it get released, that is a streaming integrated amplifier, and that also has a dedicated subwoofer output. So there is hope in the future. I just wish that this one would get updated with a subwoofer out too, because it's kind of a bummer. And I use this amplifier the entire time without a subwoofer connected. Now, I use this amplifier with a ton of different speakers. There was the aforementioned Lumina 2 Amateurs from Sonus Faber. Alongside that was the Soneto 2, also from Sonus Faber, the B&W 606S3, the Quad Revela 1 and 2, the Arendo Sound 1723S THX monitors, and also the Bucart P3 and Sub 10. I'm going to make this part quick, unbelievably. Every speaker that I connected to this amplifier sounded amazing. It was like this amplifier was the perfect partner to all of those speakers. So that's it. Review done. Just kidding. My favorite pairing was the Quad Revela 2s. They retail for just over $4,000. They're a compact floor stander, and they stomp with this amp connected. Maybe it's the richness and tonality of the 5300. Maybe it's the glorious three-way design of the Revela 2. Maybe it's the perfect alignment of the tweeter to my ears on my couch. Maybe it's the Class AB amplification. Maybe it's a slight bump in the bass on the tone controls. But man, do these speakers sing with this amplifier connected. There's one track in particular that comes to mind. It's Easy from Seba featuring Robert Manos, and I will forever love when these two partner up for a tune. Robert Manos rides a drum and bass tune like no singer before him. He just complements the vibe of the tune versus trying to overpower it, and it makes for a seamless vibe and a really great sonic presentation to my ears anyway. With no sub connected, these do a wonderful job of making you forget that you ever needed one. They dig low enough to please most fans of bass music, and the McIntosh has ample power to drive these to party levels. The vocal rides nicely over the bass line, and the drums have enough drive and clarity. Believe it or not, I don't just listen to bass music, I listen to a lot of funk and soul, especially on the Revela 2s. Take Grandma's Hands from Bill Withers, great vocal tune, one of my favorites. But something about a three-way floor standing speaker having dedicated mid-range makes his voice just have a bit more detail and a bit more body and a bit more character. I really like this pairing. I find the Revela 2s at a moderate level with funk and soul to just be outstanding. By far, this is my favorite speaker pairing. A close second, well, I mean, there's two. There's the Quad Revela 1, it's a large bookshelf speaker, and the Bucart P300. Both of those do a good job of trying to keep up with the scale of a floor stander, and playing The Cure's Songs of a Lost World. It's a pretty cinematic album from the jump, and if I'm being honest, I don't have a standout track yet. I think I'm just enjoying having a new Cure album to listen to. The depth of both of these speakers are able to hit is surprising, especially coming off the Revela 2s. But with the Bucarts, I noticed something, is that everything sounded kind of flat, and I was like, oh no, what's that? What's going on? So then I switched to the Revela 1s, and I listened to the album a bit more, and that flatness kind of remained, and I was like, okay, it's not the speakers. So I did a Google search, and apparently that's a thing with this new Cure album. Like, there's not a lot of dynamics, or everything just kind of sounds like overly compressed. So I decided to throw on some old Cure, starting with Disintegration and Pictures of You, my favorite track on that album, and then Mixed Up, playing the Pictures of You dub remix, just to give me a bit of variety, and also, if I'm being honest, I like that version more. But starting with the original, on the Bucarts, all the dynamics that I thought were missing are all of a sudden back. It was just a better sounding presentation overall, and the Bucarts did a really good job of scaling up and being able to play a bit louder. His voice sounded awesome. And then when I switched to the dub remix, what I noticed almost immediately was there was gobs of bass for a speaker this size. It sounded really good. I did wish that I did have a subwoofer connected, and when I did play these tunes back on the Evo 150 with the Bucart subwoofer connected, it just sounded fuller, better bass overall. I liked it more. I really wish the McIntosh had a sub out. And again, when I switched to the Quadrivallo ones, nice big sound stage, dug deep enough. Still wish I had a sub connected, but the vocals sounded sweet. Everything sounded amazing. I love both of these speakers, and I just gave the Ravello ones back after a year, and I missed them already. And of course, the Arendelle Monitor S THX just rocked with this amplifier. I mentioned Teddy Swim's Lose Control in that review, and if you happen to have that speaker, just run that tune. It sounds amazing. Vocal sounds good. Tons of bass weight. Nice directional highs. And vocal music and R&B, that sounds really good on this speaker. Even my old R&B playlist, like Hold On from Dwelle or was it Sunny from Music, just sounds great. Bass stomps through. Vocals sound amazing on it. But then if you did run drum and bass, like, yes, there's enough weight there. There's enough attack there. In my small room, I found that I didn't really miss one too much, but in a bigger room, I think you'd be pining for a subwoofer. And then, of course, the Lumina 2 Amateurs, the speakers that I was supposed to pair this amplifier with. It easily powered that speaker and gave it all the oomph and the gusto that those speakers could have ever wanted. I think a bit more bass would have been amazing, and a sub would be definitely welcomed here, but the two tracks that I mentioned in that review are Two Swords Technique from Photech and then Roads to Freedom from LTJ Bookham. With the former, there's not a ton of bass in that track, save for like the bass depth on the taiko drums in that, and for that track, just turning it up loud sounded good enough. And then with Roads to Freedom, it's a more musical drum and bass tune, but when the bass does kick in, what I do notice right away is the mids don't recess in any way. It just sounds big and full still, and there's enough bass weight there to complement that tune, but again, I would prefer having a sub connected for this. The Sonato 2, also from Sonus Faber, is kind of like the upgrade to the Lumina 2 Amateurs, and yeah, it rules, yeah, it sounds good, and no, I'm not going to share any more than that, because I quite literally unboxed it a couple days ago prior to recording this, and so that's not enough time for me to really give you my thoughts. This is a wonderful looking and sounding integrated amplifier from McIntosh. The MA5300 serves as the entry into the world of McIntosh amplification. And if $6,000 doesn't put too much of a dent into your finances, I would say that this at least deserves an audition. One day, I hope to own a McIntosh project of my very own. But for now, I gotta send this one back. Thanks for watching.